know what that was about. We'll get there. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. And then Leon, you never know.
Welcome to the Bladtcast Oscar Night Recap Extravaganza. Presided over by dual masters of ceremonies, the two Christians of the Bladtcast, Christian Toto of Hollywood and Toto, and our own Christian Bladt. And the winner is you! Get ready for your hosts, Christian Toto and Christian Bladt.
Oh my goodness. Thank you to the great Farad Muhammad for the intro. I haven't heard that intro in 2 years. Very excited to welcome back to the Bladtcast, the one, the only, the great Mr. Christian Toto from Hollywood and Toto. How are you, sir?
Too many Christians, but otherwise I'm doing really well.
Yeah, you know, that's what everybody says about Hollywood. There's just too many Christians. That's really the problem. And always glad to talk to you. I always like to try to start with the positive. So from all the different categories, Best Picture and beyond, what were some of the nominated films that you enjoyed this year? Even if you were like, oh, it wasn't amazing, but I liked this one. What are a couple that immediately come to mind for you?
Well, the one that jumps out the most is the one I think that got shut out was Marty Supreme. I thought it was just flat out terrific. And it's funny, I was talking to someone else a little while ago about the whole Timothée Chalamet thing. Just him as an actor, I thought he had so much buzz. There was so much hype. I was almost annoyed by his presence. But then I started watching his movies, and he's just a really genuinely gifted actor. And he was terrific in that movie. And listen, Michael B. Jordan playing two roles. He's a movie star. I don't begrudge his win, but I'm just shocked that Timothée Chalamet hasn't won a Best Actor award yet. It's coming for soon, but that one really,
and that movie got shut out all across the board. I figured, you know, you asked me a few months ago, it would have gotten something. I guess you know, a lot of people feel like, oh well, you know, he made those comments recently, but people voted kind of a while ago. I think he might be one of those guys that kind of suffers from like, oh, he's kind of in a lot of things. But I mean, it was just last year he was Bob Dylan, and this is such a different role that I don't know. I would have expected. Let's put it this way: I think Michael B. Jordan, like you're saying, deserved. People love him. Wouldn't have been shocked if Timothée Chalamet won it for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we'll get into deeper is I'm really getting exasperated by the whole, well, so-and-so said something, did something, mentioned something, didn't mention something, and that might hurt him or her at the Oscar voting. Like, can we just pick the best of the best and just leave it at that? You know, it's kind of maddening. Listen, I also love Sinners. I loved Weapons, which didn't get much love except for Amy Madigan, which we can get into at some point. Sure. But I just thought horror is really having an interesting moment now. I'm seeing many really high quality films. Some of these directors of consequence, Zach Kreger, and I really like Osgood Perkins, son of Norman Bates. I just, as a horror fan, I feel like the genre is getting more respect. We're getting these more high profile films. And if you've got 1 year with Sinners and Weapons, that's a good year.
Yeah, and you know, I think the nomination was more surprising than the win that Amy Madigan was nominated for. Aunt Doris, I believe, is her character. And
Gladys, I think, right?
Oh, you know what? You're right. It is Aunt Gladys. Yeah, and she was great. And but it's not like when that movie ended, I was like, I feel like somebody's winning an Oscar from this. But I did think that it was a really interesting movie. My friend that I went with, we commented afterwards that every time we thought we had figured it out, we were wrong. The movie kept us guessing. And honestly, that doesn't happen that often anymore. And I thought that was a really interesting movie. And one of the pluses was Conan being chased by all the kids while wearing the Aunt Gladys, I believe. You've led me. you've corrected the record on that, and I don't have the video of it, but I just have the image of Conan. And
I thought it was a great start.
Yeah, it was off to a great start. And so I thought that movie was great, and I do always have to pound my chest a little bit because the story about Weapons is that, you know, all these kids disappear from this class except for one, and the character's name is Alex, and the young man who plays Alex is my son Felix's friend. And,
oh wow!
So I was very excited to see him in there. He's got some really wild stuff coming up in the next couple of years, and I was just very excited to see him. And I had to explain to my son, no, you can't actually see that movie. And he's like, oh no, it looks too scary. So I'm like, okay, good, we're on the right page. One day you'll get to see it. But I think, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think that at the end of the day, Sinners is still a vampire movie, and I think that that's what ultimately hurt it when it comes to the major awards.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a feeling about Ryan Coogler's ability. I don't think
No,
it's
no, no.
anything to do with that, because at the end of the day, Black Panther was also a superhero movie. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
so it's almost like he's got to do, I don't know, the period piece, the drama that is painful to sit through, one of those, and take some fun out of it, unfortunately, and maybe that's what he has to do. But what were some of the other films you enjoyed? I didn't want to cut you short there.
Yeah, listen, F1 is a popcorn movie, but it was a terrific popcorn movie, and it was exactly what you wanted from a popcorn movie with Brad Pitt, proving that he doesn't age, for one, and also that
Yeah.
the director of Top Gun: Maverick, I guess he's the only guy in Hollywood making movies quite like that. It felt like a spiritual cousin to that film. Very similar in certain ways, a certain vibe, and I really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, and by the way, every time that movie came up at the Oscars, everybody said it was fun. It was a popcorn movie, and I think that it won exactly what it should have
Yeah.
for, I believe, sound design, not sound editing,
Mm.
and I think there was that. Since you mentioned what Brad Pitt looks like, I thought that this was actually a funny interaction. It's a little bit of the joke that Conan tells, but it's more the cutaway to the audience.
Fun fact, Brad Pitt and I are the exact same age. True. I was told this by my wife with tears streaming down her face.
The reason I love that is just because of how funny Kate Hudson thinks it is. She was in the middle of a few things, one of which might be a little bit cringy, but I was just like, look at her, she's having fun. You know what I mean? And a lot of people in that room, Christian, didn't look like they were having fun.
Well, listen, I don't blame them. This is a tense event. There's so much riding on it. Their careers, in a sense, an up and down. You don't know where it's going to go. So I understand. I mean, that's why the Golden Globes were a little bit more energetic, because there was drinking involved, because the stakes weren't as high. So, and I think these shows at their best deflate some of that with the comedy, with the shtick. And at times I think Conan nailed it, and at times I don't think he did. But at the end of the day, this is a show. It's broadcast on TV. They got to make it more fun. And I think they still struggle with that. And the show's length is just, it is unwieldy. They don't even promise to make it shorter now. I mean, they added a category this year, so that ain't happening.
I
But
mean, they started it an hour earlier, and that didn't seem to help, and they always look to cut the wrong things. We'll talk about some of the people speaking that got their mics cut and that sort of a thing. And it's just like, all right, I mean, there's so many other ways to do it, So I thought that there's categories where it made sense. That Sinners won for best original screenplay, One Battle After Another won for adapted. It was the one category they couldn't go head to head. So you're like, okay, everybody who liked both films, which many people did, was like, okay, I can do 1A and 1A. I actually thought that director and picture were going to end up split. I was wrong. I did not have a good read on there. You said you liked Sinners. I've read some of your comments on One Battle After Another. Let's sort of try to start with a positive. What do you think worked about that film, One Battle After Another, if anything?
the fact that it was very long and it moved. It
Yeah.
moved. I never was bored. The cast is beyond great. Listen, I think Sean Penn was overacting. There's sort of a war about that movie as far as, was it satire? Was it over the top? Was it this? I think great satire, you don't have to explain it or you have to point it out. I think it is what it is. I don't think the movie found its satirical groove. I think it was all over the map. But Sean Penn was just, you couldn't take your eyes off him. So that was interesting. And also, Leonardo DiCaprio's character as a slacker, his heart wasn't quite in the revolution as maybe other people's were. It was interesting. Those final scenes with the cars going over was certainly full of excitement there.
Yeah, just to interject, people talked about, seeing it in IMAX or 70 millimeter. And I think that sequence is why people were saying it. To the car chase, that was the one time where I'm like, okay, this could have been a bigger screen. The rest of it, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that it was a good role for Leo, but what I kept saying in the lead up was like, we can all think of 3 roles from Leo this century where he was better. So I think sometimes your past body of work can work against you, and that might have had something to do with it. And of course, shout out to newcomer Chase Infinity, who really stood out in that. And I think that was a big reason why it won that new casting Oscar, which you mentioned. And I think that if you're going to add a category, have it be something that might excite people watching at home who aren't in the industry. And also don't spend 5 minutes leading up to it with all these people talking about casting directors. And I was just like, well, I don't think that really helped. They could have at least given one of those minutes to the guy from K-pop Demon Hunter who didn't get to talk,
No, that's a great point. I mean, the amount of time you saved on those speeches is very minimal. But often throughout the show, there are moments you think, oh, they could have cut that. They could have cut that. And, and as far as the casting, listen, I think they should have added a best stunt performer category. I think that would be more exciting.
Yeah.
And it may be better visually for the fans. But yeah, the casting, that whole segment was just too long. You needed someone, a really good writer, to, in a very concise fashion, explain why casting matters, and then just go from there. And then people will get it and they'll understand it. But that segment was going on and on. Another one that drove me crazy was, I heard there was going to be a bridesmaid reunion, and I was excited about that. And I love those actresses. And the shtick they did wasn't very funny, and it went on forever. Like, you've got to write a funnier bit for those funny people. I'm sorry. That wasn't it.
Yeah, I mean, those are not people that should be expected to stand on the stage and improvise that. And, you've latched onto something that I have 2 snippets of that, this is an example of the areas where it worked. You just have to take our word for it that it was also 4 other minutes.
For me,
Oh yeah, I should talk about how. So they're saying they got these notes from the audience. I forgot. I cut the clip so tightly that it doesn't have the setup. So they've suddenly received notes from people in the audience, and Rose Byrne is speaking first for our audio audience.
me, Rose, can you please stop looking at me? The eye contact is too much. I'm thinking of leaving. I'm very uncomfortable. Sincerely, Leonardo DiCaprio.
And there he is nodding, raising the eyebrows. He's playing along because he got called upon a couple of times, and there's ways to do that. And Leo's like, all right, yeah, sure. They mentioned me, sure. He points at her.
I apologize. I have been staring at you. I thought you were somebody else.
It's a nice tag. It's great. If only, Christian, there weren't several more minutes of it, And by the time that Kristen Wiig finally is wrapping it up, you're like, we still doing this? And by the way, is 15 years like something that we make a big deal about now? I mean,
it's it's a round of 5 or 10.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, 20, it's like you do it in 5 years, but by the way, please don't do it again in 5 years. But, and I mean, this is but we've had to sit through so much at this point, but I thought that this was funny.
I've been talking for a long time. This bit could have been a lot shorter.
So, there's a little truth in there. And I'm like, all right, we appreciate her saying it.
This is really going on and on. You aren't even talking about score. That's all. Love you lots. Benicio del Toro. Or for those of you who refuse to learn Spanish, it's Benedict of the Bull.
They cut over to him. He's giving them the wrap it up. He taps his watch.
Okay.
So, when the people in the crowd are having fun with it, you're like, okay, at least we get something. But I don't know, Christian. I don't know the number of minutes that was, but that was really something. By the way, I want to make sure to incorporate our chat a little bit. Our friend the One Pun says a new category that excites people: best nude scene. I think you have to go to Mr. Skin for that. Where
did Mr. Skin go?
Yeah, I think he's still at it, but it's a lot easier to catch all that stuff. The great DJ Electro-Fry gives us something musical: Too Many Christians in the style of Too Many Puppies by Primus. So we appreciate that. And she wanted to brag herself, if I was bragging about my son's friend, her nephew got a speaking part in One Battle After Another with 0 acting experience. Please let us know what the line was. We appreciate that from DJ Electro-Fry. So yeah, it's an overly long show. I think that I remember, I don't know which year it was. There was one year where you and I were doing the show. And we're like, the show was good this year. We had fun. It feels a really long time ago, though. I can't remember how many years ago that was, but you remember it happened, right?
I do, but I think the bottom line is that for a show that's over 3.5 hours long to be fun, to have the word fun attached is almost impossible. I mean, I just don't know what they could do to make it a electrifying night given that length. And they've
apart from having Ricky Gervais host it, but yes.
It just built into it now. Listen, the thing where we're not allowed to say is what you have to say. They got to cut out some of the smaller awards. You just have to do it, because then you'll make a shorter show. And, some of the pre-made bits were actually pretty funny. There was the sketch on making classic movies on an iPhone and kind of shrinking the scene. It was quick. It was sharp. It was funny. It was in a way poignant, just how technology is changing. And even the bit with Sterling K. Brown and Conan O'Brien kind of mocking how Netflix movies have to repeat the same phrases because we're doing the dishes and doing that. Again, funny. But if your show's 8 hours long, it's kill your darlings time, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that most of us watching feel like having these smaller categories, be in an earlier event that wasn't televised, as they so often say.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. But it was a weird reaction that Conan got to mentioning. This is in his monologue. He mentioned some of the lesser known categories. And at first I'm just like, okay, somebody's protesting something. No, I think that they're upset, but I want to get your thoughts. So let's hear what he says.
A lot of lesser known categories tonight, of course. We'll be honoring the best documentary short films best documentary short films.
They're proud of themselves, but then
or as I
stop.
like to call them,
all documentary filmmakers, I guess, Christian.
They stormed the castle.
That's all Conan can do is like, what's happening?
what the hell's that all about? Best documentary short films, or as I like to call them, Lil Sads.
Which is not a great tag.
Did you watch it? I did. Did it make you sad a little bit?
Yeah. It wasn't worth it after all that, but you got to finish the joke. But I was just like, is that what's going to happen if, you start to take some of those things out? Not a Gunfighter was here before we started, and I know who that is. He was here 21 minutes early to say, in the words of the great Dennis Miller, I wasn't able to watch the Oscars because I had already scheduled to kayak across the Atlantic with a rabid meerkat in my lap. I would much rather watch the Bladtcast about the Oscars. Well, we're glad that you're here, and we appreciate everybody who is tuning in. So yeah, I think that there, and I love Conan in general. I've been a fan. I mean, I interned there when I was in college, so I have a very soft spot for Conan. I think that there were a lot of the bits you mentioned worked really well. Especially you're on screen with Sterling K. Brown recreating a scene from Casablanca, and he's like, this war, World War II. And Sterling K. Brown says, that's the Hitler one. Yes. It's all funny. It's great. Yeah. And the one you're talking about with the little, formatting movies for the phones, I thought that was funny all the way down to the titles, one that I felt like we've kind of seen this. Old guy uses hip new lingo. So this was part of this.
When you're host masking the Oscars and low-tenuously trying to rizz up the younger demographic by going brain rot mode, and even though you're unk-coated with a bunch of fame-filled NPCs, you're still S-tier level aura farming 6-7.
So the problem is that the person that wrote that, it doesn't talk like that. Probably like me, has kids. I don't know all those words, but I know about half of them. I certainly know 6-7, but so I was just like, it makes it extra cringy, doesn't it, Christian?
It really did. First of all, I've heard variations of that joke for the last year.
Yeah.
And second of all, what I've learned from my kids who are teenagers is that once I know the lingo, it's already dead.
Yeah.
And so they've already moved on. So I think a lot of the stuff I recognize, I'm like, yeah, no, that like I'll spit that back out to my kids and they'll like look at me funny and say, Dad, we don't talk like that anymore.
My kids just had their talent show. My son's in 5th grade. He's about to graduate from elementary school. So the 5th graders got to have a bunch of sketches. And one of the sketches that they wrote was a new version of Stone Soup. People know the concept of that. And it's with all that lingo in it. So it's like, for whatever that is, Generation Alpha, I think is what it's called. And it's like, okay, a bunch of elementary school kids literally just wrote that bit, and I saw it performed. And honestly, a little bit better. By the way, not a gunfighter. If this were ever to be a clip to just show, I was not expecting to see two great Christians. And DJ Electrify is letting us know that her nephew with the speaking role, his most memorable line was, "What?
That was him?"
That's great. Yeah.
Oh,
And I like this from Not a Gunfighter. I homeschool my kids, so I get a live and up-to-date version of lingo. Well, a lot of times, I mean, I don't know. I know some homeschool kids, but they usually will like play sports and do other activities. So it all seeps in. You can't keep them safe, can you? But yeah, so that one I thought was like, all right, at least here's what I'll say. At least it was short.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of talk, you're talking about this is on broadcast television, but not for long, as they pointed out that in just a few short years, it'll be on YouTube, which I don't know. I'm pretty sure that means that it is going to be 8 hours long. I think they're going to have to stop for super chats. I'm not really sure. This is a funny bit in the way that you got somebody to be, to participate.
In 2029, did you know this? Instead of ABC, the Oscars are going to air solely on YouTube. Yeah, it's the future. Yes. Big change. Some people are worried this will change how the Oscars are viewed. But I've been assured that there will no way
Jay Lynch for Beam Pro tactical flashlight. Up to 2,500 lumens of brightness, conveniently packed into a handheld flashlight. The same flashlight that killed Bin Laden.
Okay, would you have stopped there, or do you feel like you need to go back in? This is tough because now we're like kind of micro-analyzing comedy here.
We are, and I would have stopped there.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yep.
It's all about, listen, you want to make this shorter, but the joke is you've already told that joke. And like a bad Saturday Night Live sketch that doesn't know when to end. And listen, I think they only did 2 or 3 clips with Jane Lynch.
There's only one more. So
okay, yeah. But one nails it.
Yeah, I should have the clip from The Simpsons of Rainier Wolf Castle. That's the joke. That's actually what I'm actually mad that I don't have it. I'm going to be showing a lot of these on a show I do called Who Are These Broadcasters tomorrow. So I might actually get that for then. There was the one pun was asking, is this going to get that channel struck tomorrow? Well, that's part of the reason why we're testing it out on my channel. But no, I'm pretty sure all these are okay. Yeah. It's an interesting thing that they've done with the clips this year. They say courtesy of the American, I don't know, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, well, thank them for providing it, because some of these shows can be very protective about their content. And like, well, wouldn't you like us to talk about it? Yes, we're going to say some bad things, but there are some good things to talk about too,
Sure.
And again, I mentioned earlier that I love Conan, and I've been a fan of, not since he was first on the air, but within like 6 months when Letterman came on, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good show. Some of his monologue jokes, I think, fell flat, and it made me think, not usually, but most often the host is somebody who currently has a show. Think what you want about Jimmy Kimmel. He has those reflexes. He's doing a monologue every night. Conan used to have a show, and Jon Stewart, Chris Rock didn't have a show, but he was out there all the time. And Conan hasn't done this kind of thing in a while. So there were a few that I was just like, I don't know, Conan, we want to love you, but there's a couple of these.
No, this year is stunning. I loved Hamnet. I love Begonia. Yeah, weren't they amazing? Yeah. Yeah, between Hamnet and Begonia, it's been a big year for movies that sound like off-brand lunch meat. So that's...
Emma Stone's trying.
Begonia around 10. It's not sitting too well. On the ride home, you'll appreciate it. At the...
I do like those moments. I mean, Carson was obviously the best at that.
Yeah.
Just like, it's like that one's for somebody else. There were a couple of these in quick succession, so I'm just going to play 2 more.
Hamnet, William Shakespeare's wife Agnes, gives birth by herself in the woods, or as we call that here in America, affordable health care.
I don't know. I don't know
Too
who's
real for you, huh? All right.
Maybe too real. I don't know who was going to think that funny. I think that's funny. Across the political spectrum, everybody's going to be like, "Huh? What? No, that's not funny."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what sharper delivery would have saved that joke. It wasn't his best. So
And
that's perfectly fine. But
this one I liked. I'm
Go
sorry. This one I liked because I'm a nerd, but it's not a great joke.
F1 received 4 nominations. F1 did so well, they're making a sequel, Caps Lock.
It's not a great joke, Christian, but the fact that it didn't go over made me laugh harder. So
Some of these I do for myself.
yeah, anybody who's a fan of Norm Macdonald knew that sometimes the joke not going over was actually what was supposed to be funny. I don't think that was one of those cases. I'm sorry. What were you going to say before I made sure we got the Caps Lock joke in there?
I don't know if I remember now, but I'm perfectly okay with that joke. Sometimes a joke can just be either for yourself or just silly. And I think it's almost like, when you're writing a sentence, I think there's a rhythm. Like I've been writing for a long time, and
Sure.
I don't know how good I am or bad I am, but I feel like there's a flow and a rhythm, and sometimes changing a word, it just makes it a little shorter, a little tighter, and it flows. And I think for a Conan, it was just a silly bit. It was just like a silly throwaway, nonsensical little joke that probably made him laugh literally and made him happy. And I think that's perfectly worthwhile. I really do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do think so. Yeah. And, there's the joke portion. And then I guess he had said beforehand, he wanted to try to have a message that was uplifting, which, maybe had some mixed results, but he wanted to be sincere. But back to when he was still trying to have fun, we're talking about when you cut away to people in the audience and some of them are playing along and having fun. And then there's this.
Security is extremely tight tonight. I just got to mention that. Yeah. I'm told there's concerns about attacks from both the opera and ballet communities.
And it's like Chalamet just knows he needs to smile.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't enjoy this at all. This isn't funny.
They're just mad you left out jazz.
Which is a nice tag. But by the way, Elle Fanning's having so much more fun than he is or his Kardashian girlfriend. But we did talk about a much bigger star for a much longer time. Leo. He's there to have fun, I guess, or at least he knows he can't look like he's not having fun.
Memes. Yeah. He's the king of memes, this guy.
Which is true. I mean, and for our audio audience, they show the 3 Leo memes that we've all seen many times. The one of him pointing at the screen from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has kind of surpassed the other 2, but you still get them. You still get them plenty. So he's talking about how Leonardo DiCaprio's in so many memes.
Let's make a new meme with Leo right now. That feeling when you didn't agree to this.
So then he realizes, okay, I'm just going to shrug. And him just shrugging is actually funnier than if he had done, any of those moves. Yeah. So
I think that works, man. I think the shrug works. I think the setup works too.
I do want to start using that as a meme. I'm just kind of waiting. I have a screenshot of it. I just haven't had the opportunity. Ladastro has a great point. Conan seemed to love and really lean into bits that didn't work or barely worked. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm talking about when his talk show first started. There was somebody who had to lean into some really weird bits, Robert Smigel was his head writer when it started, and they were really figuring that show out. That's how we ended up with Genius, like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. But there's a lot of stuff, where, I mean, look, Conan's one of his most popular characters was the masturbating bear. And my favorite was Pimp Bot, which was a robot that would meet a woman and turn her out or possibly cut her with a blade. Somewhere I have a t-shirt for Pimp Bot, but I don't think that's what we're actually talking about, Christian.
No. What I like about Conan, and I'm not a Kimmel fan, but what I think about him as well is I want my host to look extraordinarily comfortable on stage.
Yes.
They're happy to be there. They're not nervous. And listen, they're a stand-up comedian, so they should be all those things. But this is a unique spotlight, and not everyone can do it perfectly or do it well or looked at ease. And I just think he looks like he has the wit where if a joke bombs, he's got multiple different options, or he can riff on himself, or he can do this. And I like that. I want to this, and we'll get into this in a minute, I think, at some point. But I want to be comfortable in this experience. I mean, I am at home watching TV, and if he's at ease. And even if a joke doesn't land, he's got a plan. He's got some other ideas. That's great. I mean, it's,
This is not a night where we can have even one drop of flop sweat from like, that didn't go the way I want. And I just had one more because of celebrities playing along. I mean, this involved like a pre-tape, and I'm going to assume probably a couple hours of his time.
Every seat filler at tonight's Oscars will be Michael B. Jordan. Check it out.
I like this. So we've got like 8 Michael B. Jordans all waving at different times. So it's not just one recording.
By the way, how am I looking tonight? Michael B. Jordan's?
It's quick, it's easy, nobody gets hurt, Christian. I like that. And you got like a huge movie star to play along, you know?
It's perfect because it's so quick, it's novel. And like you said, because they had different versions of him, if they were all doing the same mechanical motions, it wouldn't work. But the fact that they did, each individual guy looked a little bit different. Perfect. Just perfect.
Yeah, I know.
And silly too.
It makes me wonder, like, I kind of do want to know, like, how long did Michael B. Jordan actually spend doing that? This was a joke that surprised me in the sense that it might not politically be in line with a lot of people in the room, but everybody laughed. So I guess we have a moment where we can laugh. So we'll take a look at this one.
Later, tonight's Oscars are being watched by more than 1 billion people.
Okay, I actually remember I wanted to talk about this first. No, there's an opportunity for 1 billion people to watch it. Yes. Okay. It's on all these countries. There's no way 1 billion people watch this, you know? So I was like, all right, that's a little, in fact, when he said that, my wife was like, no, I'm like, no, there's no way. But yeah, 1 billion people could have tuned in. You know, by next Oscars, 1 billion people won't have seen this year's Oscars. But anyway, so this is the part that I thought it wasn't edgy for that room, but it surprised me.
Around the world. Yeah. Let's say hi to some of them. If you're watching from Spain, hola, soy con Brian. Es un placer darle la bienvenida a los Oscars.
Okay.
If you're seeing us in Argentina, hola, soy con Brian. Es un placer darle la bienvenida a los Oscars. And to our friends in Los Angeles, hola, soy con Brian. Es un placer darle la bienvenida a los Oscars.
And the director who then cuts away to Benicio del Toro. I was like, all right. So I was like, okay, because, you know, nobody's had anything bad to say about that one. But there are a couple moments that I wanted to make sure to talk to you about, because maybe not everybody knows that, you know, Hollywood and Toto, you do look at things from a right of center, which I think is a very important distinction to not say, you know, far right. It's right of center. And that's the way that you see things. So there's a couple of these moments, which I don't know, I feel like this plays in the room, this first one.
I should warn you, tonight could get political, okay? And if that makes you uncomfortable, there's an alternate Oscars being hosted by Kid Rock. Yeah. It's at the Dave & Buster's down the street. A lot of tickets for that.
Okay, so there's two parts of this. One, that Kid Rock halftime show was atrocious. He badly lip-synced, and that was such a great opportunity. He should have sang, but we can turn the page on that part of it. I just like, it's worth making fun of, but you know, for the most part, it hadn't been. There's one other joke that I'll play for you, but for the most part, it hadn't been particularly partisan, although maybe I'm skipping over things that I don't remember. But so you hear that, does it just get an eye roll, or what do you think? And what are you seeing from reaction on social media to that moment?
It wasn't super funny. So that's sort of my guiding light. Yeah. So that's a problem. I don't know. I generally, I think my philosophy on these shows is that politics shouldn't be off limits. Yeah. Especially in the monologue. But I think a balance would be nice. And you gotta, and I think if you're going to tell a political joke, it's got to be a banger. And I don't think that was a banger at all.
Yeah. Well, again, also, just to invoke Ricky Gervais, he would tell plenty of political jokes, but they weren't lopsided, and also every one of them, you know, just hit the bullseye. So,
you know what? But I think the bigger picture for me is this: I've been doing this for like over 20 years now, and what I've seen, and this is not biased, this is not, you know, my opinion. It's the fact is that people on the right are ostracized in Hollywood to a significant degree. I mean, look no further than James Woods, who hasn't been in a movie in like 12, 13 years and is still very talented and is still a good actor because of his political leanings. And so I think sort of having the biggest night of Hollywood and then punching down at Kid Rock in an alternate show, I don't know. It lands a little funny, but not haha funny to me.
Well, what it's saying is that, you know, I guess what he's almost saying is that it's not for you, like you in particular. It's like, hey, the show, it's almost like, well, we don't want you. It's good to have an alternative broadcast, you know, joke, because I mean, I guess it was 2 months ago All right, I guess
Yeah.
it's not that long ago. No, it was only a month ago. That's right. It was the Super Bowl. That's right. It was on my birthday. I can't remember these things, Christian. Yeah. Okay, and we're getting this from Chris Tuttle, who is in Scotland. I've liked what I've seen so far. Funnier than past years recently. So I'm glad we're getting somebody from that side of the pond, because this next joke does reference the fact, the setup for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we had no British actors nominated. I hadn't noticed. Especially because, so you know how I feel about superhero movies. So many of our superheroes are American superheroes or British. Captain America is the only exception. But so here's the joke in question.
There are no British actors nominated for Best Actor or Best Actress. Yeah. British spokesperson said, yeah, well, at least we arrest our pedophiles. So we got that going for it.
So the one hand that I like about that is let's call out Prince Andrew by name, by the way.
Yeah.
We can always call out Prince Andrew. But and you know, the one little devil's advocate I'll say is, okay, there are probably a lot of people from the Epstein files who should be arrested, but it's very obvious what he's trying to say, right, Christian?
Yeah, very obvious. And also, I think what someone pointed out to me, which I should have caught immediately, was there are grooming gang scandals in Britain that are horrific, and just Google it for more information. But they're not arresting all their pedophiles, so it might be a quick. And listen, it's a comedy. You don't want to overanalyze, but I have to say, I went to a comedy club just a few days ago. Trey Crowder was the comedian. He calls himself a liberal redneck.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very gifted, very funny. Certainly was a left-leaning shtick, and I had a very good time, and I enjoyed it. I think this guy's got it, man. He's really talented. But he did some shtick about Trump being a pedophile, and I'm thinking, I mean, you could joke about him being in the Epstein files because his name is all over it, but it's a pretty heavy drop, and it's just not true. You can hate Trump all you want. It's just absurdly not true, because there's nothing proving it. And I don't know. It just seems like a real big bomb to drop comedically if there's no basis of fact. And I think when it comes to satire, you got to have that kernel of truth in there. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So I just kind of bummed me out that he went there. Again, it wasn't super funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the audience is more like, okay, so this is a joke about whoever you're pointing a finger at. This is a joke about pedophilia. So that's.
Well, I don't even mind that.
Well, no, I know. So you really have to earn that subject matter is the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Prince Andrew, I mean, I don't know what the heck he's up to, but he's clearly in trouble for something, and it clearly looks terrible. And there's a lot of smoke there. I mean, we don't know. Listen, even with President Bill Clinton, there's a lot of smoke there. But even I would tread lightly in that area, because we just don't know.
I do love the clip from that hearing where Clinton is just looking at some of the paperwork, and I think it's hot tub pictures, and he's just like, he's got a big smile on his face, and his lawyer tries to take it away, and he takes it back. You know, I was just like, it's funny because sort of specifically what you're talking about. I saw Bill Burr recently, who, of course, way over to the left. That's not the issue. So he talks about, there was this rumor that everyone knew wasn't true, but there was, people were saying that there was oral copulation between then President Clinton and now President Trump, and nobody believed it. So he had a bit of like, yeah, it's not true, but. And I'm like, all right, at least you said that before you went into it, you know? Because a lot of people will be like, I don't know, it could be true. It's like, no, this isn't true, but here's why it's funny. And I'm like, all right. But I also saw him. He tried to. He was the surprise guest. Bill Burr was at some friends of mine, Don Jameson and Jim Florentine, and he started talking. He started comparing Trump to his father, who he had established. He didn't have a good relationship with his father, and it didn't go over with the crowd. So he's like, "Oh, okay, you guys like him? All right." So he just pivoted. And I'm like, that doesn't happen often enough, that you're just like, okay, this isn't that really, this is the Florentine Jameson crowd. All right, fine.
Yeah, but also if it's really funny, it should work. I mean,
it should. You probably wouldn't have, what you're right.
Yeah. I voted for Trump, but I've seen comedians really skewer him in ways that were very funny. Listen, and I don't want to be like this country where we can't laugh at our president, even if we like him, so it is interesting.
No, I mean, SNL was the one who was like, oh, the president isn't funny with Obama, and, eventually, I mean, it was so unfunny. They had Fred Armisen, who they added blackface to him. They made his skin darker. And, then Jay Farrow did at least a decent impression, and it was kind of funny. But I mean, Key and Peele had like the best Obama out of anybody, But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens when you get to a lot of these things. But let's talk about some of the awards anyway.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Oh my gosh. Wait, DJ Electrify. You saw Don Jameson and Jim Florentine last week. They did do 3 shows out here. I saw them 2 nights at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, the famous place in Hollywood. So people check them out. They do a lot of shows together. So the actual giving of awards, there were a few moments, and then the first one was I think foreign language. Oh, okay. So I don't have the part where we got the tie, but this is part of that, which I thought was interesting. And they mentioned, I guess, after the fact that it had happened before. I think this was like the 7th time. It's usually minor awards, and it hadn't happened in a while. And I think that often it was awards that weren't televised. So maybe people didn't know. I didn't know it was possible, but we're talking how Conan referenced lesser awards before. I do think some people probably don't vote for those awards because they're like, you know what, I didn't see the movies, so, which is the way to do it. Now, when I'm picking like an Oscar pool back in the day, I'm always like, all right, I got to pick something. But yeah, I'm not voting, So I thought it was really interesting that we ended up with a tie. And then the first movie got to speak as long as they wanted to. And then the second one comes in, and Conan's reaction is what really makes this, because he's like, what? So they lower the microphone. You can just see it at this very moment. So Conan doesn't think like they're trying to go to him. He's just standing there laughing. So they lowered it, and Conan's just standing there. It's like probably want to get the microphone back up, right?
For having rewarded a French film made by a Franco-Indian Brit, a Romanian,
this part
American,
isn't that interesting,
an
but
Argentinian, an Italian, with actresses Aurélie Bourquin.
He does take
Vicky
a moment
Krieps
to
from
get a dig
Luxembourg,
in at Timothy
Luana
Chalamet.
Bajrami from Kosovo,
So
and
there's
Zara
that. I'm
Amir
just going to let him
from
kind of
Iran.
talk in the background
You
until he
cannot
gets
be
to
here
that.
tonight.
But
She just had a baby girl.
so this is a perfect example of like, this is probably why they had them stop talking, because now they're talking about their, the member of their team who's not there because she just had a baby girl. I mean, look, congratulations. That's great. But I don't know that we needed the microphone to go back up,
Well, I mean, they want it both ways. They want to include, I sorry, we keep calling them lesser or minor categories. They just are. I'm sorry. People don't know this.
Yeah.
But they want to include that in the main ceremony. Well, great. Well, then don't just rush through them. I mean, give them they're on stage. This is the whole point of it. We're not going to cut these awards. They're important. We need them. Oh, but you can't talk more than 10 seconds.
No, yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, they have the same presenter for a couple of awards in a row.
Yeah.
You're like, that's when when you're doing double duty. But
and that helps, by the way. I mean, time-wise.
Yeah, for sure.
Ago, Neela,
Yeah, so we're shouting out
you
the
are
baby
the
she
hope
had. But
in a world that is
the
dark
point I want to get
and
to is
absurd
coming.
and ridiculous and horrifying. But that is why we make films, isn't it? Because we believe that art can change people's souls. Maybe it takes 10 years' time, but we can change society through art, through creativity, through theater and ballet. And
A lot of digs for Chalamet, but it was like, man, his microphone was already in the floor. And then it's like, all right, well, and Chalamet's like, dude, they took his mic away and he got a chance to take a shot at me, I don't know.
Isn't it the same ceremony where they gave a standing ovation to Roman Polanski? I'm sorry.
I mean,
in my craw.
A lot of people were reminded at the end of the awards from the very weird Adrian Brody presentation, which, by the way, is not clipped out there, and people aren't sharing it. So it's because he talked for like 5 minutes and 40 seconds last year, and for a movie that was like 3.5 hours. Yeah. So I think that's probably why they felt like they had to. But, at the same time, it was like he was making jokes about it. And I was like, yeah, he talked for almost 6 minutes last year. And some of these awards don't get it. It happened to K-pop Demon Hunter 2 times. And the first time they did let the first woman finish. But I think that there was a very clear edict that we are not doing that again. So that's when the first one was when it won for Best Animated Feature, which my son is not a fan. It's a very popular movie, and he doesn't he says he doesn't like the songs. We were actually out at dinner and I was watching. And when I told him, he stood up, he's like, that's it. And he just like, he stormed off. A perfect comedic timing. He just had to go to the bathroom. And he said, I'm done with life. And I'm like, wait, what? So I just thought it was very funny that, he crushed that moment. But this is what actually happened on the show, though.
I think, of course, the resilient cast of K-pop Demon Hunters. Thank you so much
She's
to Maggie
finishing up.
King and Chris Applehans and our producer, Michelle Wong. Thank you so much for this film. Thank you to Netflix. Thank you to Sony Animation. Thank you for Ian Eisendrath and Spring Aspers.
So she's used up their time, and they usually tell you that one person gets to talk. So then she's like, okay, what else?
And is there anything else?
I'd like to thank.
And this guy's jumping up and down. He's trying to get the first mic back on. But instead, Christian, they've got a camera like across the street. The El Capitan Theater, the Disney theater that's like across the street from there. That's where the camera is, and they're like, we are not going back. We are not going in there. So I did do a little homework. Afterwards, they did let him talk. They said like, hey, what would you have said?
I'd like to thank our families and 24, my fellow IDEO members and Teddy Park. This is an incredible honor. 그리고 감사합니다.
And then this guy's like,
oh, well, hang on, because I also want to thank my people too. While we're taking.
So even back there, they're like, okay, well, we got what he said. And then this guy wants to talk. I'm not playing this guy. This guy goes on. And I was just like, all right, I don't know how much better it would have made the awards if that guy got to talk. Not talking about his accent. It's none of that.
Yeah.
It's just, what did he say? Oh, kind of what she said. Well, I'm also thanking all these people who made the movie. But obviously, the movie's a phenomenon. It's hugely popular. You could have definitely talked about it. And I didn't even realize until I was kind of recapping it for a network that I do shows for called Geekscape. They didn't even play any other songs, just this song and the one from Sinners.
Yeah.
And they were like, Diane Warren, it's not happening. And I was like, oh, yeah. So were they even invited? Like, did they even get to come? They're like, we're telling you now, you're not winning. So
I think Diane Warren was a seat filler, so she's good.
Yeah, but she looked like Michael B. Jordan, so we didn't even get to see it. There's some other stuff that I want to get to, but as we've kind of gone through a lot of different things that happened, what are some of the thoughts about some of these things? I think you and I are on the same page. If you're going to present an award on television and you're going to let them do it, yes, you don't let them talk for too long. There has to be within reason. But there are those times where somebody's talking about like their dad who just passed away, and you're like, all right, yes, they've gone over, but we're going to look bad if we start playing that music that you and I just heard.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the solution is. It's uncomfortable to watch is really what it is.
It definitely is, for sure. I think one of my bigger bones of contention is that some of the presenters, like they had Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.
Oh,
These are the Avengers guys. These are the main guys. This is what you want to see. And they almost played down the Avengers aspect a little bit. I thought they should have kind of leaned into that. But also the banter was either poorly written or it was not. They missed their line. The whole thing was awkward. I'm like, these are two guys who are buddies that we all love. They should have something snappy and funny to say, or self-deprecating, or something.
I was excited to see them come out and not excited to see them still out on stage. So this was one of those ones where they presented two awards.
Yeah.
The first one, you were like, I agree with you. They probably forgot something. And then the second one, they had something prepared, but it didn't really go that well, as we'll see here.
Not you. The official.
Oh yeah, they're talking about the first bit was about like it's their anniversary since the first Avengers movie, which I guess is 14 years and not 15. All right, whatever. That's besides.
14 is the new 15.
Yeah, and like there was kind of an obvious joke. He's like, "Oh, I got you this," and it was his valet claim ticket. Okay, you could let him keep the car. That would be funny. We'd all laugh. We know that Robert Downey Jr. could go buy, 20 cars on his way home. It's fine. It's not the problem. But instead, he's like, oh, no, I did get you something. This is when he comes back out.
I got you the official tanning Chatham thong from Magic Mike and Sequin, right?
So he thinks that Tanning Chatham is that actor's name, who is about to be involved in this bit, and he called him Tanning Tatum. You know, he briefly was part of the MCU, playing the character Gambit in Daredevil and Wolverine. So he's like part of the gang. He's part of the family.
It's got like a mirror ball effect, light usage.
I have no words.
Hey, I'm gonna need that back though.
This is okay. I like this part, but it doesn't save the bit.
For what? I gotta work later, bro. What are you talking about?
So I like that. And he had come out earlier with Will Arnett. Their back and forth was fine. Channing Tatum, he's one of those people I don't know that much about him. I haven't seen a lot of interviews. I'm like, okay, he was having fun with it. You know, I don't even know why he was there. Was there anything? Was it to be in bits? I'm not even sure.
To show off his new shaved head. Yeah.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
I mean, I think the irony of all this is that these are really talented people who can improvise, who can make us laugh. Even the actors who are not comedians are very funny. Like, I don't think you think Channing Tatum is a slapstick stand-up comedian, but he's got chops and you can do something with them. But I don't know, the whole bit just didn't work. And then there was, I
have another one that didn't work, and I bet this is what you're going to talk about: Sigourney Weaver and Pedro Pascal. And it takes a really weird turn. It's a dumb bit, but we'll see.
Adorable.
So they've got Grogu, which a lot of people know as Baby Yoda. There in the audience, okay, and she's talking to him. It's a friend of Pedro Pascal because he's the Mandalorian. Okay, we got all of it, and she's talking about how cute Grogu is.
Downright adorable.
There he is with Kate Hudson again, having fun.
Get away from him, you bitch.
I was not expecting that. And I don't think Kate Hudson was expecting to be called a bitch by Ripley from Alien. And even Pedro Pascal tries to smooth it over.
Good character recall. I peed myself a little.
It's my soft maternal instinct.
I'm sorry, Kate.
Kate, I stand by it.
Well, that went so well. Let's cut to Grogu again.
Grogu can't clap. Try to clap, Grogu. Try to clap.
It's true, he can't.
No,
because his arms just go out this way.
What a cruel thing to do to bring a creature who can't clap to an award show. Is there no bottom to these people? We'll be right back with more Oscars. Clap, Grogu, clap, 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 clap.
I mean, playing the ET theme is kind of fun, but and you know, this is what somebody in the chat, Christian, mentioned, like Conan just really leaning in and selling the material that's presented to him. Conan didn't write that bit, you know, but Conan might not even like that bit. Maybe he loves it, but he's like, all right, I'm going to sell it just as much as the really long production number that he did that I'm not showing, where if he had won, where, you know,
that was terrible.
It was so long. It was like, it's fun that you get Josh Groban. Josh Groban actually shared it to his social media. You're like, okay, but we're at the beginning of the show at this point. You know, we're in for a long night. I thought that the only time I saw worst chemistry all night was Anne Hathaway with Anna Wintour, who is the real life version of the Meryl Streep character from Devil Wears Prada. Not necessarily everybody knows who Anna Wintour is. That room certainly did. And so Anne Hathaway with Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out. I'm sure Christian has already bought his tickets just like I have. And any day now it'll be out. But so Anne Hathaway's playing her version of her character, and Anna Wintour's kind of acting like the Meryl Streep character. And I mean, what can you say? Sometimes you just have to sit back and look at perfection.
Just curious, what do you think of my dress tonight?
And the nominees are?
Anne Hathaway, I think, is a very talented actress. I've seen her be great in a number of things.
Oh, yeah.
But I was embarrassed for her.
One thought about that bit was the Devil Wears Prada 2, the buzz, the excitement is huge. And I had no idea. Sometimes you just don't realize it. Sure. But I've sensed it. I've seen it. The views tell the story. This movie's going to be massive. And the fact that they did something akin to that movie, or it was kind of a quasi tease, and it didn't really work. And maybe he needed Meryl Streep there. I just thought that was a missed opportunity, I thought.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I mean, was it written for Meryl Streep to be there? I don't know. I mean, I look, the idea of putting the real life Meryl Streep's character, okay, fine. But I mean, it was just like, ooh, can we get on with it? I thought that for the most part, people who won were there, but there was a notable absence. And I thought Kieran Culkin has a funny reaction to it. But the thing to really look at for our visual audience is Delroy Lindo's reaction to losing. Oof. And I mean, those are Eddie Murphy not winning for Dreamgirls is like an all-timer. He left, actually. But let's take a look at Sean Penn winning for One Battle After Another.
And the Oscar goes to...
Oh, wait, I've cut
Sean Penn. One battle after another.
I've cut the clip so small. Well, I'm going to fix this.
I'm blocking him out.
No, it's not. It's not us. No, I actually did not do the clip properly. So that's on me. So here's what we'll do is we'll talk about the Sean Penn part, and I'm going to go try and find another version of that. But let's talk about should have really looked at that first. The problem is I looked at these this morning, but I guess I didn't look at that one with my glasses on. But so Kieran Culkin's reaction to Sean Penn not being there, I thought was very funny.
And the Oscar goes to Sean Penn. One battle after another. Sean Penn couldn't be here this evening, or didn't want to, so I'll be accepting the award on his behalf.
I love that. Out of anybody who could not be there, being somebody that you could say didn't want to, it's probably Sean Penn, because he's already got two.
He's already got two.
Kieran Culkin's had good moments at award shows the last couple of years. I've played a few clips that he's in, and it's I enjoyed it is my point. So all right, so now I have to do this a little bit of a clunkier way, but again, this is a dress rehearsal for the show that I do tomorrow on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. It's going to look great on that show, Christian, but thanks for being here for the rehearsal. So I'm going to play it directly off X. All right, so we're going to see the same thing, but again, for our visual audience, take a look at the lower left-hand corner. You see Delroy Lindo, also nominated against Sean Penn, Stellan Skarsgård, Benicio del Toro, and Jacob Elordi.
And the Oscar goes to Sean Penn. One battle after another.
Delroy Lindo doesn't budge. I mean,
Sean Penn couldn't be here.
There's just nothing. And
he had a long career. Yeah. I don't know how old he is. He's not a kid anymore. Maybe a last chance at the Golden Ring. I don't know what the expression is, but I don't know. I mean, actors fake it and they want him to win and they clap. It's the thing. But
yeah,
I don't know. I feel badly for him because he's
Delroy Lindo will be 74 years young later this year. So yes, that may have been his moment. And Chris Hill has a kind of an observation. Sean Penn is a great actor from Bad Boys up, but I thought he was too obnoxious to be enjoyable in this film. You have to be along for the ride. You have to be like, okay, this is a real person in this world that they live in, and you're going to have to, reconcile with Tiana Taylor's interaction with him, which is a very light way to put it, an interaction.
Calling it.
The Leo portion of it, when he's relocated, I think he relocates to your neck of the woods, right? He relocates to Colorado. And so, you should actually you should always look behind you. You never know when disgraced revolutionaries are going to be there. But I thought that it was funny that he wasn't there, but you could feel for Delroy Lindo, especially because I don't want to dive into it, but the BAFTA clip from when he's on stage and the guy with Tourette's yells out, and you're just like, oh man, this hasn't been a good award season for Delroy, who's a phenomenal actor. I haven't seen everything, but I haven't seen him be bad in anything, so
no, he's one of those great character actors who often they don't get recognized, and they're legion. They make films better. We love them. They're never an A-lister, but they often have complicated, colorful careers. And Delroy Lindo has just been a constant in Hollywood for decades. And, I just hope he enjoyed the whole ride and understands that people love him for what he does. That's that's the ultimate.
Yeah. It wouldn't be an award show without some controversy. And I guess for a lot of people in that room, I don't know, I guess Javier Bardem was preaching to the choir when he said this.
War.
By the way, no to war is something that people say a lot at award shows. You can usually get away with that, but there's no reaction to this next part.
No to war and free Palestine.
And by the way, you hope that Nick Jonas's wife is on board with that, because otherwise she's standing there, like from the Katrina fundraiser when Mike Myers is standing next to Kanye and Kanye says George Bush doesn't care about black people. And Mike Myers is like, wait, I'm on screen. What are you doing? Like, that's not why we're here. Who knew that the road for Kanye would get so much weirder beyond that? That taking an award away from Taylor Swift was just the tiniest tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And what an iceberg.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are certainly people in that room that probably applauded Free Palestine, but I'm like, dude, nobody's talking about that tonight, Well, Jimmy Kimmel does come out at one point, and I've only got one of the snippets. It's all kind of the same drum. And, listen, I think that all of these guys seem to have a grudge with Trump. His is very personal because of the glee that the president took when he was off the air and, seemed blindsided when he went back on the air. It was personal before that. It was personal when it wasn't personal. But I don't know. It's almost like you're saying, like, sure, make fun of the president, whoever it is, but have some decent jokes. And so he's talking about him indirectly when he says this.
You're going to be mad his wife wasn't nominated for this.
So he's presenting documentary. Yeah. So, and first of all, I do believe Melania wasn't eligible because of when it was released, but I don't think that's what he's talking about. And, he had a couple other things, he called it a movie where she saw shoes. And by the way, I actually never did see Melania, so I've been very hesitant to comment on it. I did want to see it. It was showing here, but not for very long. You might be shocked, Christian, that I didn't have as many opportunities to see it. So I do want to see it objectively. And so I kind of stay away from it a little bit. You've pointed out it made a ton of money for a documentary. I know they spent a lot of money on it, but it also, I think in 20 years, it was the most successful documentary. And again, nobody's talking about it. If it was nominated, I mean, I guess, would she show up? What do we got to do to get it in one of the nominations next year? Who do we have to talk to? Just because I want it to be on in that room. That's good TV,
Well, they have to bring her out with the Hannibal mask on her face and that trolley kind of a thing. So, yeah, listen, I mean, that movie's not made for Oscar consideration.
Yeah.
And I have not seen it either. I begged for a screener when it first came out and they didn't give me one.
By the way, always a good sign when they don't want to show the screener.
Yeah. There's like 3 conservative critics in the country. On one of them, they didn't want me to see it.
Yeah.
But it's on Prime Video. I want to see it now. And I desperately want to watch it with an open mind. And if it stinks, it stinks. And I'm generally not a fan of these. I'm a producer on the film. I'm a consultant on the film. Oh, yes. And I'm the star. I mean, Michelle Obama did one, I think, Becoming. And I think that was from her production company. And listen, when Taylor Swift makes a documentary, she's got a hand in it. It's not like, hey, here's a camera, take me off guard. I don't care. I'm not a fan of that whole genre in general. I don't think that's really honest and authentic.
Yeah, there's the Elton John one where it's really obvious. I think it's called Tantrums and Tiaras. That's one of the only honest ones I've ever seen where you're like, oh my God, look at this guy. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, a lot of documentaries are kind of with air quotes and they're for more publicity. I don't know that this is that. You've got Brett Ratner working on it, which is somebody who's having trouble, finding work to do. Although, I don't know about you, but I've been waiting for Tower Heist Part 2. It just hasn't happened yet, Christian. But I'm sorry, finish your thoughts on all of that.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And also, the only upside to me on paper is that we just don't get to see much of Melania Trump in general. She's more reserved. You don't get the magazine profiles. So I'm kind of curious what makes her tick a little bit. And
Sure.
sometimes film just captures things that you don't even realize, or you're more off guard than you think, or maybe you don't have the self-awareness to realize that puts you in a negative light. So there is the chance that that'll be something valuable from it. But listen, it was what it was. And the fact that the price point was so high, was it 80 million or 40, or maybe it was 40 plus 40 in marketing. I mean, going in that documentaries don't make anywhere near that money. And most of them make under $1 million.
Yeah.
So there was obviously some other calculation, whether they thought we'll get it on Prime Video, it'll be a long play, or we're trying to curry favor with the president. We want to be on, there's all sorts of maneuvering behind the scenes.
So what I'm reading, and again, this comes from our AI overlords, thank Grok. Total they spent 75 million, but they bought the film for $40 million. The fascinating thing here, Amazon spent $40 million, which was $26 million more than the next closest bidder, which was Disney. So Disney is Disney's like, okay, so like a $14 million movie. And they're like, nope, 40. But then they did spend $35 million to market it, I think that it did generate business, but I'm pretty sure that it's not considered a net profit for Amazon. By the way, commenting on this again from Scotland, so keep that in mind. This isn't somebody from Middle America talking about Jimmy Kimmel. I hate him making the joke that we just showed when he knows full well it couldn't be nominated. It's getting tiresome, and we get it. They have to move on from Trump hate. I mean, I don't know. I think that there were plenty of there weren't a lot of speeches where they leaned on it. It was, I mean, there might have been some that were more veiled about like, boy, the world's crazy right now. I'm like, okay, you can say that. Sure. What, Christian, the world is pretty crazy right now, but I feel like there are years where we're kind of being yelled at by the winners. And maybe we didn't get that, but maybe I'm missing it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a little more than I think than that. And the veils were not exactly subtle. I will say, and I'm picking on my dad, who I love dearly, but during the 90s, he was such a Clinton hater that he, I'd say pass the salt dad, and he'd launch into a jeremiad about Clinton. And I think Jimmy Kimmel's falling into that category now. Like, you're a funny guy. You've got, 30 years in the business. You could do other stuff. You don't have to just do Trump all the time, make us laugh. You're becoming a one-trick pony.
Yeah, no. With your dad, it was like, oh, Dad, would you like a glass of water? Let me tell you about white water. And
that's right.
Dad, I mean, it's all right. One of the last things I want to talk about is the in memoriam segment, and I think that some of it was, was very well done and thoughtful.
Yeah,
I mean, the way Rob Reiner died is so tragic. It's so hard to talk about, and having Billy Crystal, who it wasn't that long ago that he was talking about his other best friend, Robin Williams, and it's just like, Billy Crystal is great. It seems like a long time ago since he hosted the Oscars, but I thought he did a great job. And then they talked about, all these great movies he did. I mean, his like first decade of movies is like, oh, he could have never made another movie. Some would say maybe he should have stopped. There was a movie he made late in his career called Flipped that no one saw. It was it was really well cast with young. It was a children in the movie. I don't want to call it a kids movie. It was so well cast. It was so well done that it kind of stands out. He also filmed a terrible movie in my hometown of Greenwood Lake, New York, with Morgan Freeman. So I liked seeing the place I grew up, but it wasn't great. But he did all those movies, and they talked about it. Did you notice that Corey Feldman wasn't up there, but the other guys from Stand By Me were? Because you get Corey into that room, you're like, oh no. The way Corey is now, it's like, yeah, Corey, we're just gonna say you were out on tour. Okay, can we do that?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. I think the unique and uniquely horrifying aspect of his passing, is so impossible to process that any sort of memorial seemed appropriate. I love the fact that one of my favorite Rob Reiner films was posterized in the background with the stars, The Sure Thing. I love The Sure Thing. I love it to pieces.
Yeah, and that's his second movie that gets overlooked, because I think his third movie, Stand By Me, or maybe Princess Bride.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't matter. But yeah, that one gets kind of forgotten about. So I think that he was beloved in that room, and because of that room, they want to talk about the role he and his wife played in marriage equality, because because those were the things that were important.
Yeah.
Rob Reiner, great
He's pretty good
filmmaker,
too, by
but
the way.
probably somebody you didn't want to run into at a party if you disagreed with him, from what I hear. So there was that, and I thought I don't know what the connection was between Rachel McAdams and Catherine O'Hara, but I thought what she said was lovely. That's a treasured actress who maybe people didn't realize. I think Schitt's Creek went a long way in recent years for people like, oh yeah, she's not just good, she's like next level great,
Yeah.
and it's like she was, when you see that SCTV cast photo, you're like, yes, all of these people are great, so there was that. And I think that it's been pointed out that they didn't spend time talking about Robert Duvall. They showed him. And, you may have seen the clip that I posted. I got a lot of social media attention, but somebody reminded me that when Norm Macdonald guest hosted the Dennis Miller show, he wanted Robert Duvall on. So we had him on. And Norm talked to him for like half an hour. It was great. It was so fun. And I'd completely forgotten about the interview. So probably the one of the tweets that are what I guess we call them posts now, that has gotten the most traction is that, because people were just like, oh my God, yeah, I loved Norm and Robert Duvall was great. I thought somebody could have spoken about him, but obviously you can't also speak about everyone, so it's tough.
It's tough, but Diane Keaton was a giant and Robert Redford was a giant. Absolutely. And Rob Reiner was a giant. Robert Duvall was an absolute giant. And if you're going to do that to that, and you're going to not care about the running time, you got to do something with Robert Duvall. He's just that significant. So it definitely, it was weird. Also, they forgot Brigitte Bardot, who's been in more than 40 films. And listen, James Van Der Beek was not a film star of consequence.
I mean, okay, so Varsity Blues doesn't count. No, I know.
I know, but I mean,
you're 100% right. You're 100%. He's a TV guy.
They didn't honor Peter Tork or Michael Nesmith, and they were both in Head. So we gotta understand there's some limitations.
That's
here.
true.
But Duvall was, and also lived to be in his 90s and was acting until a couple of years ago. I mean, he is a legend, a giant, an icon in every sense of the word. But so was Redford, and so was Diane Keaton, and so was Rob Reiner. I think the Rob Reiner thing always frustrates me. I'm taking his death away, which is obviously just the most horrific thing, but that he was so mediocre to bad in the last 15, 20 years of his directorial career.
Yeah.
And did you see Spinal Tap 2?
I did. So my thoughts on it before you say anything.
Okay.
But I'll let you say what you thought. So I thought, it was fun. I liked visiting those characters. It would have been probably great as like, we're putting out a 40th anniversary, like Blu-ray Steelbook, and we've got some new stuff with them. I thought some of the sequences really worked because those actors are so great. Christopher Guest, having a shop where they have like cheese and guitar. It's so random, but I'm like, okay, it's funny. You get Sir Paul McCartney, Sir Elton John. So I thought that it was fun, but when it was over, I was like, they didn't need to make that. But those are some old friends that I got to visit with,
I have to say that I thought that I had lowered my expectations for the project because I just knew the first film is so iconic. There's nothing, what could be done. And I felt like I didn't lower them enough. I aggressively hated it. And I love those characters. I love those actors. The fact that it was so aggressively unnecessary rocked me in a way. And I hate to say this because we all get older. They look so old, and it looked really old. It wore on me, and I hate when I go to the theater and I'm sitting behind someone or in front of someone, and I hear them say, "Oh, they look old." I'm like, you know what? The guy is 70, and they're going to look old. They're not going to look like they do when they're 20. So as much as I hate that sentiment, I still had it with that movie, and I hate myself for it.
Because again, your expectations were, okay, they're going to look old. Oh, that old? And it works for these characters because they hadn't been successful. They were getting back together as a character. But it was a little jarring. And we've seen these actors recently, I mean, all of them, maybe not in the last couple of years. So it is sad that that's his last movie, but I guess it's poetic that it bookends it. But I think it was kind of disappointing that, but I love the character so much that I was able to have fun with it. You know, kind of the way people talk about F1. Like, oh yeah, it was fun. But nothing that you said makes me think like, oh my God, he's crazy. He saw a different movie than me. No, you saw the same movie. You just,
and
you
maybe
just had a
if I see it
more realistic
again,
expectation. Yeah.
I might like kind of luxuriate in some of the quieter things and the little touches. It was funny. I caught it late. They didn't screen it here in Denver, and I was about to write the most scathing review possible. And then Rob Reiner passed. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not touching that.
Yeah, no, bad timing. Yeah. See,
No
there
way.
you go. Yeah.
No way.
So we talked about Robert Redford, who of course needed to be remembered. And Barbra Streisand, you know, is the definition of a megastar. But she's like telling this story where it's like, and he called me Babs. I'm like, yeah, we've heard people refer to you as Babs. I mean, I just turned 50 this year. My whole life, I've heard people talk about her being Babs, but she feels like this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And she like wanted this moment to land.
With I love you too. And I signed it Babs.
Yeah, he called you that. Yeah, it's you know, it's almost like, oh, great, you know, sell it. Don't be like Babs. It's like, and I signed it Babs. Great. Let's put the lights down, go to commercial. We're all done. But
she's older. Maybe I don't know what to say about that. Just an odd maybe comparison. Maybe it's not. But I just interviewed D.B. Sweeney, who's a longtime actor.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know him very well.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Super nice guy. Very smart. And I was interviewing for an article, and I talked about. I remembered he was in Lonesome Dove with Robert Duvall.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I said, let me get it because he just passed
Yeah,
away. I said, let me
of
get
course.
it. He had like 3 or 4 insanely great anecdotes about Robert Duvall that talked about him as a human, an artist, a creator, an interesting fellow, and was like, bang, bang, bang. That is great. And my article was great simply because I included those quotes in the story. And Robert Redford just was such a star and worked on so many levels and was so, I mean, he is the movie star. Oh, and then he did Sundance. And like, there must be like a zillion stories to share. And I've heard some of them over the years about what made him special.
Yeah.
And she boils it down to this. He called me Babs and we had this conversation. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, she's got to work with someone, maybe, you know, workshop some stories about anecdotes. Because I guarantee she's probably got a lot of beautiful, sweet anecdotes about what he was as a person and as an artist.
Somewhere in her head was a story that probably would have made
Somewhere.
everybody cry. You know, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you know?
Yes.
But she is Barbra Streisand. So everything needs to be about her. There he is. Look at that. Oh my gosh. This is where they should go to commercial, Christian. This is perfect.
So it's the laughter. The laughter will remember. Whenever we remember.
Christian, I'm going to take you off screen while I say this. At that moment, I thought, oh, okay. Robert Redford was the lucky one. Okay, so.
Wow.
The way we were.
I didn't want you to get wrapped up into that. But,
Collateral damage.
Yeah.
I can take it.
I don't know. She doesn't. She still sings publicly though. It's not like my in-laws saw her within the last 5-10 years. So it's like she's still out there. If she hadn't sung in forever, I'd be like, okay. I'm like, Babs, because we all call you Babs. This wasn't about you, you know. And that was, I think, there were some infuriating moments that night. But I was just like, and you helped me realize what it is. There's something so great she could have said, but nobody got it out of her. Nobody was like,
got it out of her.
Can you please tell us what it is? And maybe they didn't even ask her to sing. And she was like, do you want me to sing? And they're like, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess.
Can't say no.
this might be a little bit of an inside joke, but I hope Tukey does this at Stuttering John's funeral. That might be a world that you don't live in, Christian. Be glad that you stay out of the Dabbleverse, but it did.
Oh my!
You don't know my friend Tukey, who also lives in Colorado. Actually, he's a puppet. Yeah. So he's a puppet that's been on this show. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if I have a I don't know. Would this Oscars be like a C- if we gave it a letter grade? Because there's parts of it, it's definitely below average, but I don't know. Is it an F-? And I'm just grading on a curve, Christian?
I don't even know how to grade these anymore. I mean, I genuinely don't. A show that's 3.5 hours, that's filled with lots of bad points and has some sweet moments too. It is what it is. I don't even know if you can make a great Oscar anymore. I just think it's sort of its own beast. And if you enjoy this, you do. And if you're in the industry, you'll be curious. And there's some suspense, even though we kind of knew everyone who's going to win. There wasn't really huge surprises.
No,
but I mean, but knowing is something. I don't know how to approach it. It's something. This is how I approach it. I dread it each year.
I know. Well, I'm glad we were able to get together and talk about it again.
Yeah, me too. I'm having much more fun here than I am last night. And
yeah, well,
and
we're
again,
also 2 hours shorter. Or probably 3 actually.
But I mean, to me, what frustrates me to me to go the full Babs is that, listen, I'm critical of Hollywood. I'm on the right, so I don't agree with their politics, but I do love movies, and this should be the night of my year because this is all about movies and the best of the best, and you get to see the people you love. I mean, artistically, I love all these people. And I don't enjoy it, and I dread it, and it's reduced me to that. And then maybe it's partly my fault, but it's partly their fault too.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that it's not worth showing because it was just a shot for shot remake of kind of one of the last scenes of One Battle After Another. But even after the awards end, Conan does a whole bit where it's great to see the great Jim Downey, who is of course legendary, take him to an office, and it's like what happens to Sean Penn's character. But it was also like, oh man, I mean, they were running that in there. Nobody saw it in the room because they're all, getting up and getting out. And, I think that, we're talking about people who looked like they were there to have fun. I would say that Michael B. Jordan was definitely having fun afterwards because he stopped by In-N-Out Burger.
I love this.
It's literally like around the corner from there. And I thought that was actually really fun to see. I definitely liked that. To see him out there and all the people that were absolutely there. And it reminded me that it's what all the cool kids do because I was fortunate enough to go to 4 Emmy Awards. And look at that. My wife and we did actually go to In-N-Out Burger right after we were done. So I was just like, oh man, if only Michael B. Jordan had been there that night.
But I think listen, you can't replicate that clip in the show because he didn't win yet. I know that's like a dumb thing to say, but there's something about him out there enjoying the night, meeting people, that energy and that positivity and that sweetness. If they could get that in the show in some capacity.
Yes.
I know it's easier said than done. I get that. But if there's some way to kind of capture that, I don't know. I think that'd be amazing. I mean, it could be as simple as maybe some of the presenters come up with their parents, their mom,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's something. Yeah, you're right. There is something there. We highlighted the people who were there, at least having some degree of fun. Michael B. Jordan being one of them.
Yeah.
There is a way to make it be like, oh, it looks like it's fun in that room. It never looks fun in that room. By the way, I went to 4 Emmy Awards. It usually wasn't that fun. And the Emmys are nowhere near as prestigious. I understand that completely. I mean,
by the way, I want to just mention one thing we didn't. It's a minor moment, but I'm hoping for Kumail Nanjiani. I think I'm getting it right.
Yeah, that's
he did a thing about short films and how we should take the long films, the regular feature length films, and shorten them up. I don't know why, but I was tickled by that bit, and I thought it was funny, and I thought he's a comedian, so it had a light touch, a smidge of improv, and it's funny because the next day there were articles in like the Daily Mail saying, oh, he instead of Schindler's List, it'd be Schindler's Post-it note or something.
Yeah, that's a good joke.
He wasn't making fun of the Holocaust or
No.
dead Jewish people. It was just a quip about the title. And there was like this manufactured, oh, people are outraged. I'm like, oh, really?
Are they?
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't see that. And by the way, that's the category that tied. So then it couldn't have been prepared. So
Right,
just
right, right.
offhand, he has the great line of like, who knew that short film would actually be the longest award to present? I forget how he phrased it, but it was perfect. In
Yeah,
the
the
moment.
whole thing was great.
He's very funny,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, Silicon Valley is, it seems like it's so far in people's rearview mirror, but that's the first place I ever saw him. He was so great on that. Everyone was great on that show. I'm allowed to say, I think that everyone was great on that show. Yes, even TJ Miller was great on that show. I don't quite know where he's at right now, but he was very funny. Everything was funny on that show.
Yeah, I've met TJ Miller twice and he couldn't have been any kinder. He's actually from Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like he had some struggles. I'll just put it that way. I hope
that's
they're
fair.
behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the one pun does point out this is again a great clip of Milhouse from The Simpsons. No one told me there would be boasting, and it's because I did. Not only did I go to the Emmys, I did go to In-N-Out Burger afterwards. They don't feed you at these things. I think the Oscars, they have like some kind of little snack bag. But ever since, I think Kimmel was the one who gave people peanut butter and jelly, and then there was like an outrage because it's like, what about nut allergies? And it's like, all right, I was just trying to feed you. So now they like, I don't know, it's like a whole thing. But anyway, well, Christian, I don't know. I saw some movies that I liked, and some of them won awards, and there's a lot of movies that I feel like I'm gonna kind of skip now because they didn't win. But that's part of the fun. Before we wind up completely, is there anything coming out soon that you've seen? Anything you've seen recently since award season? Any film you'd like to sing the praises of?
Yeah, two. One is coming out very soon, Project Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Again, it's too long. It's too cutesy for me. Not everyone will agree, but it's chock full of imagination and humanity, and Ryan Gosling just knocks it out of the park. It's not a Castaway-esque one-man role, but it darn near close is at times. And he's just brimming with star power. So I really enjoy that. I think it's going to be big. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, Send Help. It was out a few weeks ago, maybe in theaters still. I'm sure it's going to switch to VOD very soon if it's not there now. Wildly enjoyable. That's Sam Raimi back in the director's chair.
Oh, right. Yes.
Rachel McAdams is just flat out great. And Dylan O'Brien is a very good actor who I don't think he gets enough attention or enough credit, but it's just pure entertainment. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm sure it will be. And again, it's not fine art, a little gross at times. Sam Raimi can't help himself, but those two movies, just very enjoyable, very original. Project Hail Mary. I mean, it's just, you could take the imagination from that film and fuel like 12 other movies. That's how much, and I guess it's based on a book. I get that, but it just feels fresh and alive and real. And I like that.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it. I just know that it's largely getting good reviews. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah.
The one moment that rang really false for me during the Oscars, I'm reminded now because of what I saw most recently. I have not seen Hamnet yet, but Peacock let me know that they have it. So I'm like, okay, great. I know where I can watch it. Is that Jessie Buckley won for it? And I'm sure she's great in that movie.
Yeah.
But I just last week saw her in The Bride, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I don't say that lightly. My comment afterwards was, I think we owe Joker 2 an apology. Because, and look, that's very tongue in cheek because it is also a terrible movie. But I mean, they made so many bad decisions. I'm like, Maggie Gyllenhaal should know better. She's an actress. She should, I mean, I don't think I'd seen Christian Bale be bad, but now I have.
Yeah.
And so I see her winning an award. I'm like, she better be really good in Hamnet because the one movie I saw her in does not deserve it. But maybe for next year's Razzies,
It's an early favorite. I will say, I think, I could be wrong. It's really tough to tell these things and predict. I think The Bride might be like a cult classic in the years to come.
I could see that. People
And
dressing
also-
up like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
The ink stain on her mouth is genius. I don't know why. It just struck me as so interesting and novel, and the whole. I mean, I think visually the movie's. I don't disagree with anything you said. It's a complete. Words fail. And by the way, these two actors who are great are screaming the whole movie. I don't know why you scream the whole movie.
Right, exactly. And I don't know. I mean, there probably could have been some more directing going on. But anyway, so that was just a thought there. But so that's what I wasted my time going to see in the movies, because one person I knew liked it, and I'm like, oh, okay, they must be. No, I don't trust that person anymore. Anyway, yeah, and this is kind of funny because I think it would be a very different movie. One pun, Project Something About Me. that maybe that's coming. Anyway, Christian, let everybody know where they can find you regularly and what to look for.
Yeah, my website is Hollywood in Toto, my last name.com. Also have the Hollywood in Toto podcast. Same kind of stuff. It's sort of coverage from a right of center perspective. And by the way, I never really think about it, but I do honestly believe, and I cling to it. And the fact that you said it made me happy. I'm not on the far right. I'm a right of center film critic. And I really hope that people who are on the left of center or even center check out what I do, what I write, because I do love films and I love what I do. And I don't want to be that knee-jerk guy. There's actually a lot of people on the right hating Sinners, saying it was a DEI pick. And I just was like, guys, if you want to understand pop culture, you can't go there, because that's a very good movie. And you may not like it. That's fine. Yeah. It's subjective. But that's a well-crafted, ambitious, thoughtful movie. And even the horror beats were just novel and fresh and exciting. You got to give that movie some credit, and you can't just going to dismiss it just because you think it's sort of a, because they're a majority black cast by a black director. No. Let's not go there. So, and that's what I try to do. I don't want to go there. I just want to kind of just share a different perspective on things.
Right, exactly. And I think there are probably a lot of people in their head that might consider themselves right of center, but when they speak out loud, they're like, no, I'm not going to say that. So you're actually saying it. And we always appreciate, I don't even know how many years we've been doing this, but it's always fun to talk about the Oscars. I'm glad we do it the next day now. When I used to have to rush to a studio, we'd be talking at like 11:30 Pacific time. This is better. I get to catch my breath and we talk about it the next day. So Hollywood in Toto, and that's also your social media. So you can find Christian there. And if you're a fan of Christian's and you ended up over here, this Christian, as in me, you can find me on social media at Christian DMZ. Even if you just want to find the clip that I was talking about of Norm Macdonald talking to Robert Duvall, great. That's fine. Find it for that. And maybe stick around for some of the other stuff. And we've got all kinds of great things coming up on the Bladtcast, Bladtcast. Our audio audience tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and they will get our St. Patrick's Day special. Every year, Christian, we review another one of the Leprechaun movies. So we did Leprechaun 6, which is Back to the number 2, Back to the Hood.
I get invited here, but not for that.
No.
That's a bridge too far.
By the way,
I shan't be back.
It's better than The Bride. In any case, so you can find out all that stuff. Bladtcast. That is all the time for now. We'll see you next time on the Bladtcast.